What's going on, Sooner Nation? It's game week. And although Oklahoma's playing Temple on Friday, we'll talk about that on Thursday night at the live at 8 p.m. So make sure you guys pull up there. But today we got to talk a little bit of OU football recruiting because the 2025 class, although we might have thought it was over after getting Michael Fasusi and really just waiting on Christian Jones, there's been a couple of names that are starting to pop up around OU football recruiting on the defensive line and the offensive line that you as an Oklahoma fan need to pay attention to. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about Andrew Babalola. Before we do that, though, as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button. Guys, we're trying to get to 13,000 by Friday, and we're like 115 away, I think. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. 70% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed. So just make sure you do that so we can get 13,000 before the start of the season. All right. So we got to talk about, and we'll start with Andrew Babalola because that's the highest rated target that Oklahoma is still going after in the 2025 class. And it's quite honestly the one that I think a lot of Oklahoma fans are really going to care about. Now, Andrew Babalola being the five-star guy, obviously, as always, we've talked about plenty of times, he's going to be highly coveted. Now, Stanford has been presumed to be the leader. At this point, I think Stanford is out of it. It seems like right now, if you're Oklahoma, the two schools that you're really paying attention to that could cause you a lot of trouble is Auburn and Michigan. Michigan has been a school that has been lurking. They have a really good program in terms of what he is looking to do in school. So Andrew Babalola being that, five-star prospect, the guy with the really high ceiling, he's taken a couple visits to Oklahoma, 4 to be exact, 3 unofficials, 1 official. He's taken 2 to Missouri. He's taken 1 unofficial to Michigan and only 1 official to Michigan. And then he's only taken, again, 1 official and 1 unofficial to Auburn. So Oklahoma, when you follow the unofficial visits, has the clear-cut advantage. But the thing is, when you talk to sources around Andrew Babalola's recruitment, it seems like Oklahoma is starting to gain a little bit more confidence there. And it seems like Oklahoma might have a better shot than a lot of people believe. Now, we were talking about this in the Discord earlier, right? Lamont Rogers, like, what is Oklahoma's chances of flipping him? If you had to ask me today, like, what is Oklahoma's chances of landing another one of these top 2 offensive linemen? I would say it's less than a 50% chance, maybe like a 30 to 35% chance Oklahoma can land one of them at this point in time. At this point, I think you're more likely to get Austin Peay, who has been a name that started to come up, but we'll talk about that one here in a second. Andrew Babalola, though, probably the one that you're most optimistic about right now. Lamont Rogers is probably going to happen a little bit later down the line because I think with him, the dominoes really start to fall after Andrew Babalola commits because then, Oklahoma gets involved or Texas A&M gets involved with Lamont Rogers. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, offensive line recruiting is not over. But with that, we wanted to talk a little bit about Austin Peay. Now, if you all have kind of been listening to anybody, right, this has been a name that has kind of popped up a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, this is not one that I would get super excited about. It's not one that I have not talked to Austin Peay. So here's my deal. If you get Austin Peay, he's a 2027 kid at heart because he's going to go on a mission. And I mean, if you look at it, you get somebody locked up now for your 2027 offensive line class. You will take that. Austin Peay has been to Oklahoma twice in 2023, but has not been on an official visit to Oklahoma. So, again, if you're an Oklahoma fan, don't really look into this one too much until you hear that he is going to be on campus. Then maybe we can start talking about this one being a serious recruitment. But at the beginning of the video, you heard me talk about how Oklahoma could be potentially going after some defensive line prospects here in the 2025 class. You heard me right. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a prospect, and we were talking about just, hey, what is his relationship with Todd Bates? What does it look like with him in Oklahoma in terms of his recruitment? And at the time, Oklahoma stood pretty good in the way he wanted to come to Oklahoma. Oklahoma just wasn't really pushing for him, but he explicitly said, Todd Bates told him he is looking for a 4th defensive lineman, which if you're an Oklahoma fan, that makes you feel better because you would like to see Oklahoma take 4 interior guys. You currently have Floyd Boucard, Kamori Moore, and Trenton Wilson. so far a pretty good defensive line class, especially with Wilson being the anchor there, and then Boucard being just a guy with really high upside. But you kind of worry about Boucard potentially taking visits this this upcoming fall season. I will say Boucard's going to take visits with his team. You're just looking to see if he takes an OV, because if he takes an OV, that's when the policy will likely be enforced. But this was a name that came across to me this morning, one that I think Oklahoma fans should potentially watch in terms of if he gets an offer, and that's Joseph, and I believe it's Mabocho. Um, only has 16 offers, and if you're watch the channel a lot, you guys know how I feel about offers. Offers tell you the story about how good a player is. But coming in at 6'4.5", say 6'5", 275 pounds, guys, Florida, Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, like he's got some of those defensive line offers that you look for. Currently committed to the Florida Gators. So it would be really nice for Oklahoma to be able to go into the state of Georgia and flip a guy from the Florida Gators, or keep him even out of the Georgia Bulldogs' hands. This is even somebody that Texas wants, right? So, and Kenny Baker down there at Texas. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, this is a name that, although he does not have an Oklahoma offer right now, I would expect that this guy is probably going to pick one up soon, especially if Todd Bates is looking to add a fourth interior defensive lineman. Now, another guy that this has been a name that's kind of been floated around for a couple weeks, but it's Braxton Kyle, a 3-star defensive lineman currently committed to Rutgers. Again, another commit out of Swanee, Georgia. Swanee, Georgia. I want you to pay attention to the city, because Oklahoma is going to be trying to do some work in this city over the next couple of seasons. But Braxton Kyle, a 6'4", 320-pound defensive lineman, has a total of 15 offers. He's only taken one official visit to Rutgers. Rutgers has put together a pretty solid, deep class for them. Doesn't have the offers that the last kid had, but let me tell you, if Oklahoma was able to go out here and get him, he's kind of like Kamori Moore, in my opinion, right? He's going to be a guy that has really high upside, a guy that could develop into an elite prospect for you down the road. He's probably a 3 or a 4, maybe even a 5-year guy for the University of Oklahoma. So if you're an OU fan, you're definitely watching this to see how this one unfolds in terms of the interior defensive line recruiting. But if Oklahoma can potentially get one of those two, or even both of them, on campus for an official visit, or even an unofficial this upcoming season for any of these SEC games that you have, Oklahoma should feel good about where they would stand in the mix of the recruitment for those prospects. So be on the lookout for Oklahoma to offer one of those two guys on the interior defensive line. If they do, expect Oklahoma to push hard, because like I said at the beginning of the month, Oklahoma is going to push for some of these guys that we're not talking about right now. These are guys that we have not been talking about that Oklahoma is going to push to flip. Who knows? They might still try to go after some more elite guys, because right now, with the 2025 class pretty much being wrapped up, they can align more resources to go after 1 or 2 targets to make sure that they try to land in their class. So, guys, if you have not already, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And we got OU Temple coming up on Friday. We'll be doing a live stream on Thursday at 8 p.m. So make sure you pull up there. Let me know your guys' score predictions for OU Temple. And as always, jump in the comments below, join the discussion. Let me know your guys' thoughts.